Magna was then a professional staffing company. It was an IT company essentially, doing deputation services to other IT companies. There was this bank from Bombay which was actually involved with a mandate of selling another company called WDC. WDC was then India's second largest IT staffing company. It still is today the second largest IT staffing company. It was eventually bought by Manpower. Manpower is actually the world's third largest HR services company. So at the time when they were running the mandate, they met us and they told us about WDC, and I kind of liked this business when I met them initially. I liked the people. So I went out and met with the promoters of WDC. And then after a while, we were doing our own internal research about the IT staffing business in India and about what is market structure and the other competitors in this. When we realized that there is a company called Magna, and there were promoters who I had met with some time before, based out of Hyderabad, who were probably at the same stage of sale at WDC itself was. It's then that I decided to go and meet with the promoter of Magna in Hyderabad. So it's a deal that we actually tracked down. We searched down, we went and met them. It was a Diwali. It was around Diwali, and I still remember meeting Pradeep Mittal in a friend's place. He was dressed in a kurta, and he was getting prepared for the holiday festival season. And he was very close to selling his company itself, so he said he's maybe about 30 days away from consummating a transaction. So it perhaps is very late in the day that we should be talking about a possible transaction. But we spoke, we built a relationship, and he realized then that we were serious buyers and that we perhaps can add a lot more value to his business over time. And in a matter of 30 days, we closed the transaction. At that point, I realized two things. One is that when you shake hands with a gentleman to do something, you must never walk away from it. You have to, and that's a credo that we've kept always in our transactions. We did 7 or 8 of them even after that. Every time we walk into a room and we agree to a price, or we agree that this will be the deal construct, we never walk away from it. We're very focused on finishing a deal. The second thing is that you should never do this transaction unless you like the guy at the other end of the table, and he's somebody you can call home for dinner. And you can have him home for dinner, and you can see him as a friend of yours for life to come. In fact, Pradeep, the day he signed the deal with us, I think it was December 23rd in Madras, in Bangalore in 2010, the first thing we did was he came home for dinner, and we met and had a meal together along with the management team. So that deal was transformative for us. That deal was very important to us because it suddenly gave us scale. We didn't have enough money in our bank at that time. We had to. It was publicly reported that the deal was approximately about 100 crores in size. Of course, newspaper reports get many things wrong and they exaggerate numbers, so I'm not getting into the accuracy of what they reported, but I'm only telling you what they reported. We didn't have that much money with us to pay for this transaction when we did it, but we had ways by which we could draw on our internal resources and also bring in some additional capital. So we first decided that we will do this deal. It was important for us, and then we got. It was a strategic deal. We had to do it to get the size that we wanted. We did that deal in 2010, and that's when our real journey started, and that's what got us to the next level of operation. It was a fantastic transaction for us. The people were great, the company was good. When we bought the company in 2010 December, it had 630 people on board, full-time staff of 630 people. It had associates, that is people on its rolls who work for clients, of about 4,500 people. 4,500 people of it who work with clients. They had revenues of about 180 crores, and they had an EBITDA of almost about 8 crores. So the EBITDA margin was not that strong, but we knew there was operating leverage. We knew that we could turn this to be a higher margin company. It had a DSO then of a higher number. It had a DSO of almost about 100 odd days, 110 days to 120 days. Today, which is about, let's say, 4 years down the line from that transaction date, that 630 people has become 650. We have only 650 people working. That 180 crores of revenue has become 400. And the EBITDA has grown from 8 crores to today about 50 at a run rate right now about 65, 70. So you can see what's the transformation that's taking place in the company. There's tremendous operating leverage in that company. It's a market leader by far. Its second largest competitor is only about 1/3 its size. It's about 2,000 to 3,000 people. So the size that is achieved and the gap that has the high threshold of gap that is built between itself and competition is significant, not very easy for competition to catch up. And this is in a market where, in the IT staffing industry, globally, at least 20% of the workforce in an IT industry is outsourced. That means if you've got, let's say, 100,000 people working in Infosys, Wipro, or IBM and all these companies, about 20% of them are usually outsourced, which means you hire them only for certain projects, because projects don't continue forever with IT companies. So you hire them only for specific projects, so that your bench is also kept lower. In India, it's about 3 to 4%, the 20% number. So the headroom for growth in the IT staffing industry is huge. You take a number for the IT industry, it's almost about 3 million people. So on 3 million people, if you have to take a 20%, let's say you take even 10%, flexible staffing basis on 3 million people, it's 300,000 people. We, as the market leader today, have 10,000 people. So you can see how much more this industry has to grow. So now you're seeing why we invest in this company. I'm spending a little bit of time on this because it's been a great investment. We're very happy with what we did here. It's a team that we've worked very, very closely with, and it's a story we like to cut and paste as much as possible in the future acquisitions that we do. So it had operating leverage. It had a good management team. It was an industry that is not saturated. It had much more to grow. From 3% it can grow to about at least 10%. Even at 10%, it's half industry norms worldwide. And lastly, we were able to buy 100% of the company over time. That's the way we structured the deal. So we're not leaving some stubs there, and you don't have isolate. We like to do. It's just a philosophical issue. I can't give any scientific answers to this, but we like to buy 100% of companies over time. So that's the first company.